I expected to come on today's show talking about how the Grizzlies started their 5-game road trip, 2-0, going into a big game against the Los Angeles Clippers. But it's the opposite. They're 0-2 in their last 2 games on this road trip. And when teams are supposed to be playing their best basketball of the season, late March, going into the postseason, the Grizzlies aren't doing that. And it doesn't really look good. Let's talk about it on Locked On Grizzlies.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I'm your host, Damichael Cole, beat writer for the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, Tennessee, covering your Grizzlies here on Locked On Grizzlies. Thanking you guys for tuning in with us each and every single day. Make sure you continue to tune in with us on Locked On Grizzlies as we try to keep you in tune with everything that's going on with the team and around the team. Remember that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. And guess what? Remember, we got a newsletter too, introducing the Locked On Grizzlies Daily Newsletter, the one stop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right into your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all new free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter, where my co-host Joe Monax is manning it, and he's been writing some really good stuff lately. So make sure that you go check into the Locked On Grizzlies newsletter as well to stay in tune to what's going on over with the Grizzlies. As I said in the opening, this 5-game road trip, I think it was one where you said you hope for 4-1. You hope for a 4-1 record. And, that includes games going to Oklahoma City and Los Angeles Clippers. And my thought was, okay, you started off with winning again, then you split the games between the Thunder and the Clippers. Split those 2 road games. If you go 4-1, you put yourself in a strong position. Entering this road trip, I think the Grizzlies had 14 games remaining this season. I said, you want to go 9-5. 10-4, I believe, gets you the 2 seed for sure. But 9-5, depending on you give yourself some leeway depending on who you beat. And what I mean by depending on who you beat, you got to beat the Lakers so you can even up that season series. You got to beat the Denver Nuggets because they're right there as well. You got to beat the Golden State Warriors so you can hold them off, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But it's not really looking that good. I don't think really not even too interested in talking about the Grizzlies' pursuit of the number 2 seed right now until some things change. They lost yesterday against the Portland Trailblazers, 115-99. Third time they played the Blazers this season, first loss. We talked about it on the last show. The Blazers have been playing better. They are a respectable team, without a doubt. This is not some tanking team that is, like in a bad position. This is a team that's actually in position to compete for the 10th seed. Like they're probably a game and a half, couple games behind the Suns, in the Mavs. They're right there. Like they're right there in position to potentially get a play-in spot. But on the Grizzlies end, we're talking about less than a week ago, we were talking about this team as the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. The positioning that they were in, having the tiebreakers over the Denver Nuggets if they win this next game against the Nuggets, outlasting the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets. We're talking about all these different things, these scenarios. I don't really talk about those right now because at the end of the day, the Lakers are playing decent basketball. The Nuggets, when they're healthy, when they're throwing their guys out there, you see the guys, Jokic, Murray have missed a couple games as of late. They're playing really well. The Rockets have won 8 in a row. Golden State is 8-2 in its last 10 games. Los Angeles Clippers, I believe they're 7-3 in their last 10. And the Timberwolves are right there as well, 8-2 or 7-3 in the last 10. All those, the 3 teams that we mentioned that were behind the Grizzlies have won at least 7 of the last 10 games. Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors. Grizzlies are 5-5 in the last 10. Not too shabby, right? No, but you lose to the Kings. I think that's a game you should have won. You lose to the Blazers. That is a game You should have won. And it's not the fact that they're just losing. It's the way it's happening. How many times in the last couple of weeks have you heard us say the Grizzlies are playing with low energy? The intensity needs to improve. Taylor Jenkins, his buzzword has been urgency. Is Taylor Jenkins' messages even getting through to the team right now? It's a valid question. It's a question I haven't asked him yet specifically, but it is becoming a more and more valid question because here's the problem. The big problem to me is when you identify the issues, the Grizzlies have identified the issues. No problem with that. The defensive rebounding is bad. They got out rebounded 65-40 against the Portland Trailblazers. The defensive effort, the defense isn't horrible. The Grizzlies defense isn't horrible. I want to get that out the way. But they are so inconsistent and they have long stretches where they look horrible. Then they'll have stretches where they look all right. And if you look at the first half and the second half against the Portland Trailblazers, same thing. First half looked terrible. Gave up 71 points in the first half to Portland. Fourth quarter, they were really good. Third quarter, they were all right. But it's the same issue. This is what we were talking about first, second game after All-Star break. When you're giving up 40 points in a quarter to the Pacers and, the Cavs getting anything they want in the quarters and so many other teams, the Hawks, etc. The list goes on. And they've identified this. We need to come out with more intensity. The head coach has addressed it. I believe I talked about it here, a few episodes ago, but they've addressed it behind closed doors. They've had meetings, film sessions. Said, hey, we're going to make some adjustments. After that game, I think it was around the time after the Hawks game, they had one of those, I call them like look in the mirror type of meetings. Coaches, players, film session, challenging guys. We got to improve at this. We need to be better in these areas. This has to be better. They made some adjustments. We're going to adjust some things defensively. We're going to make some changes. You hope for different results when those things happen. We're seeing the same thing. We're seeing wide open three-pointers for opponents. We're seeing Grizzlies players struggle to stop the ball. We're seeing the long, kind of, I don't even know what you call them, but long lapses defensively for quarters, sometimes halves, sometimes even longer than that, before they show what they're capable of on defense. Defense we saw early this season and pretty much for the large part of Taylor Jenkins' tenure. But this is a concern because this is probably the first time under Taylor Jenkins and the Jenkins, he kind of aligned the timeline of Jenkins, Morant, and Zach Kleiman because they all took over in their respective roles same season. This is the first time where you can make an argument that the defense is a bigger concern than the offense. You can make that argument because it looks that way. And the offense didn't have a great day. 99 points against the Blazers. 10 points in the fourth quarter, which is when you miss Ja Morant, who's out in this game the most. Jaren Jackson Jr. is struggling. That's another problem. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes back second game of the back-to-back against the Heat, scores 31, and everyone's like, he's back. But if you take that game out of the equation, Jaren has been inefficient on the offensive end since he's been back. 5 of 18 shooting from the field against the Blazers. 14 points. 5 of 18. And he was 2 of 5 on threes. So it's not like this was one of those games where he shot a bunch of threes and just missed shots. Jaren was 3 of 13 on 2-pointers. This is your 1B option, right? Or however you want to describe it. But he got to be better. Got to be better. Portland only scored 19 points in the fourth quarter. Only 19 points. The Grizzlies were playing from behind most of the night because you gave up 38 points to Portland in the first quarter. You gave up 33 in the second quarter. You gave up 71 in the first half. They win the third quarter 31-25. You make it a 7-point game going into the fourth. They made a run. They only scored 10 points in the fourth. Only scored 10 points. For the most, for there was a large stretch where they only had 5 points in the fourth quarter. This is concerning. The effort wasn't good. The defensive struggles were apparent, and the offense pretty much disappeared. The offense pretty much disappeared. Usually, you could be a little bit more encouraged when it's one issue. You say, okay, that's what has to be corrected. They're gonna fix that. This team doesn't have one issue right now. They do not have one issue right now. And again, look, this is more concerning to me because it's March 20th. Playoffs are only roughly what, three weeks away, 3.5 weeks, close to 4 weeks, somewhere around there. But it's close. This is when you want to be peaking. This is when you want to say, oh, that's the team that you don't want to run into. They look scary. The Grizzlies aren't that team right now. The Grizzlies are more the team that teams probably want to play. They aren't playing their best basketball. I want to play them. Easy first round matchup. So a lot of things got to change around here, and they better change fast because Clippers are next. They're peaking. After that, yeah, you get the Jazz. Then you get the Thunder. I mean, they peaked the whole season. And then you get to come back home, but then you got games against the Lakers. You got games against the Celtics. You got games against the Nuggets. It ain't getting really easier around here. So the Grizzlies got to fix this, and they need to do it fast. They're going to need to do it fast. We're going to talk about what exactly they need to fix and some of those issues for the Grizzlies right now coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we break down those issues and what's really going wrong for the Memphis Grizzlies right now, I want you to remember that today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Look, Game Time is where I go now to if there's a live event going on in Memphis, Tennessee, and the Grizzlies are off and I got an off day, I'm going to slide over to Game Time because that's the easiest place to take advantage of the best deals out there. But look, there's nothing like watching basketball live. Like the Grizzlies aren't playing their best basketball of the year, but the energy of the crowd right now, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and you're going to get some celebrity sightings here courtside soon. And if you want to catch those games in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than it's ever been. Game Time has new feature called Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets trying to find this and find that. It's simple, easy ticket shopping through Game Time. I just checked the Game Time app myself and look, some amazing deals on there for some real good games coming up. I'm talking NBA, I'm talking college basketball, all of the above. Game Time Picks even highlights super deals, which gives you the best bang for your buck. And guess what? You get seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee. All that. So you're going to make sure that you can book with total confidence if you go through Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL or for the NBA fans. Locked on NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. Coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies, let's talk about the drop off lately with the Memphis Grizzlies. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies, where we got to talk about what's going on with the Grizzlies. With the drop off, like more detailed. Like we know that they're struggling right now. Again, it wasn't a great first two games to this trip on the road. Lost to the Kings, lost to the Blazers. What's going on? I think everything boils down first with the defense. The offense is going to have its spells because, uh, again, Jaren Jackson Jr. just come back from the injury, has not been consistent, and Morant has missed the last two games. Those are the two players that you rely on the most. Desmond Bane is a big part of that. Those what you rely on as well. But outside of those three, I mean, you got Santi Aldama back in this game, had a decent performance in its return back. But those are your three horses. Those are the three guys you're going to rely on each and every night. And Josh dealing with a hamstring injury right now, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is not playing his best basketball. So, with that being said, what are the biggest reasons for this drop off? That's part of it. But I want to talk about the defense because there was a question, on X yesterday. I was asked, is this what's causing the defense to not play the best basketball right now? And my response was, it's a combination of two things. And I wholeheartedly believe this. And I don't think anyone could really change my mind because you can see it. We all can see it. And those two things are talent, defensive talent, and coaching. And I want to talk about them in that order. Defensive talent and coaching. And we'll make it simple. We won't go too deep into defensive numbers and things like that. We'll make it simple because it is simple, to be honest. And here's the thing. You got 5 players coming into the season. You ask, who are the Grizzlies' 5 best wing defenders, right? I think most people would have said in some order, you got Marcus Smart, you got Vince Williams, you got, Jake LaRavia. I don't know if people would have guessed Jalen Wells. Maybe some people would have, but it was very clear early in the season that he was there. And then your next best wing defender probably early in the season, John Conchar. I think it's pretty solid to say those 5. Now fast forward to where we are now. Of those 5 players that I just named, 2 have been traded. Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia. They're gone. Jalen Wells, he's played solid, but he's a rookie, which means it's going to have inconsistencies in play. A lot of rookies don't have consistent seasons, or they have droughts, and they have those stretches where they tend to look not like the player that you see for a decent part of the season. He's kind of going through that right now, but he's a rookie. A lot of talent, but a rookie. Then you keep going. Vince Williams Jr., it's not 100%. I know people keep saying, Vince doesn't look like he did last year. Not as healthy as he was last year. At least not right now. I've said it on here. He wants to be peaking towards the end of the season. The Grizzlies better hope that comes sooner than later because they need him to be that pest on the defensive end. Hasn't really been much of that. The hustle's still there. The effort's still there, but it's not the same movement skills. It's not that same defender that people said, that guy could potentially be an all defensive type defender. Not right now. And then John Conchar, who for the most part barely plays. He replaced Zach Edey in the second half starting lineup as Taylor Jenkins tried to go small and find something that worked. But when Lamar Stevens gets back and John Morant, those guys, John Conchar probably won't even be in the rotation. So essentially, you enter this season saying, and we got a bunch of options we can guard guys on the wing with. And then now, lo and behold, we're here in late March. You got a healthy rookie that you're relying on, a less than 100% Vince Williams. That's it. John Conchar isn't playing much. Marcus Smart is gone. He got traded. Jake LaRavia is gone. He got traded. That is not an optimal rotation of wings to go against Luka Doncic and LeBron James. To go against, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. To go against all these elite scoring duos in the Western Conference. It's not enough. You're gonna need Desmond Bane to really do more on defensive end. And he's been capable. Desmond Bane is not. I don't think he's a bad defender. He's not a bad defender. He's not a great one, but he's not bad. Ja Morant, same thing. He's not a bad defender. When he's again, I think I figured it out with Ja in terms of when he's going against those smaller guys where his size isn't too much of a disadvantage. Ja will give you problems. We've seen it, this season. He's given those smaller guards. It's the Luka, the big bulkier guards, those type of matchups, a little bit tougher, for him. But now moving on to coaching. And with coaching, it's very clear to me. And it's simple as well. They have made quote unquote adjustments. I talked about it earlier. They've had, film session breakdowns where they say, oh, we're going to make some adjustments. We're going to adjust this. We're going to adjust that. Here's the thing about adjustments. I like them. I know some people say, why are we changing things? I love adjustments. I think that you have to continue to be flexible over the course of an 82 game season. You don't want to get stale and stuck in your ways or anything like that. You got to be flexible. But what if none of your adjustments are working? And even worse, what if your quote unquote adjustments are leading to the same issues? So the Grizzlies have made some adjustments or whatnot. And if you asked me 3-4 weeks ago, what are the biggest problems with this defense? I would say, it's centered around effort, intensity, giving up open 3-pointers, stopping the basketball, on the perimeter, like stand in front of your guys. They haven't improved that, stand in front of the guys. The effort hasn't really improved. And we just saw the Portland Trailblazers of all teams make 18 3-pointers against the Grizzlies. And in that first quarter, it looked like an NBA shoot-around. It's open looks everywhere. So the point that I'm making is when you make adjustments, it's got to look different. Okay, you go from being one of the top teams in the NBA at preventing paint points to now middle of the pack, but you've taken away, as many open 3-pointers, right? Okay, that's an adjustment. It might not be working to the greatest advantage, but that would be an adjustment. That's not something that I've seen. I mean, I don't know. At this point, if guys can't stand and stay in front of their man, do you mix in some zone a little bit more? Haven't seen that. I mean, zone isn't something that works for long stretches of period, but we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, one of the top defenses in the NBA. They're not too prideful. They got Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in their backcourt. Decent. They're going to compete on the defensive end clearly, but they're not just that much better than Ja Morant and Desmond Bane when it comes to what they can do on the defensive end. But you know what? The Cavs know that. Say, we're going to throw some zone in here. We're going to throw some teams off. And it worked against the Grizzlies. And it's worked against a lot of other teams in the league as well. So that's coaching. You need adjustments. And you need things to work. So that is a problem as well. And we're going to round this show out talking about something that has something to do with coaching. And that's G.G. Jackson being sent to the G League. Now, he's missed the last 2 games with the Grizzlies. We're going to talk about that situation and kind of I'll give my thoughts on what's going on there with G.G. Jackson being sent to the G League for the Grizzlies. So we're going to talk about that next, coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. But before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives you the business flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Look, you can find it's easy to find the right talent because if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. And it's fast and easy hiring. Posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, with multiple qualified candidates to choose from, and of course, it's cost effective growth. Instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps find affordable, top tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, UPWORK.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today via Upwork. Gigi Jackson was sent to the G League before the game against the Sacramento Kings. Came as a surprise to some people, but it was noteworthy, right? It was very noteworthy. Gigi Jackson being sent to the G League, and I want to talk about that a little bit. This is and my co-host Joe talked about it in his recent newsletter, so go check that out as well if you haven't yet. But Gigi has a lot of talent, right? And to me, this is a coaching problem to a certain degree. And look, we'll we'll talk about GG more in the coming days. I'll just say that we'll talk about him more in the coming days because it's not just coaching. It's somewhat how GG responds to this stuff as well. But with all that being said, here's the thing: GG Jackson last season showed you the ability as a 19-year-old to score off the dribble. The Grizzlies saying, "Oh, we're going to put the ball in his hands. We're going to let him do this. We're going to let him do that." How much of that have you seen this year? So my point is, as a coach, as a team, we always hear coaches say you want players playing to their strengths. When have we ever seen Gigi Jackson's strengths be spot up shooting and being a top perimeter defender? Not at this level, we haven't. Instead, it's kind of his role right now. It's his 3-and-D guy. And again, it goes to the point that you're making a player be something he's not really particularly proven to be. Gigi Jackson has proven he can put the ball in the cup. He can give you instant offense. He can give you volume scoring. He can get downhill. That's what he's proven. That's what we saw a lot last season. We saw him coming off the bench, scoring over 25 points in the game. First time youngest rookie doing that since Kobe and things like that. That's what we saw. But he's playing a different role. And we've seen this sometimes work out for the Grizzlies, sometimes go terrible. And it is a tricky situation because with Desmond Bane, it worked. Right? Desmond Bane did the spot up shooting thing his rookie year because to year 2, they put the ball in his hands a little bit more. Boom. He turned into, one of the best shooting guards in the league. Zaire Williams, on the other hand, solid rookie season. Go to the summer league. We're going to put the ball in Zaire's hands. We're going to make him a playmaker. Comes back into the season. Struggles. Eventually traded, down the road and, not seen as piece of, a big piece of the puzzle anymore. Gigi Jackson is not getting the same opportunities that he got last season, but the expectation is for him to perform, at a high level. So this is not an excuse-making session for Gigi Jackson. I want to be clear with that. His play hasn't really been great. He's had a lot of defensive lapses. Taylor Jenkins has been talking about him, in real time as they happen. But maybe sending him to the G League helps him work on those issues. But I am of the opinion that, look, I'm not surprised that he's not playing his best basketball because he's not being in position to play his best basketball. we didn't see GG Jackson just spot up shooting and playing defense. But at the end of the day, that's what Taylor Jenkins wants. Taylor Jenkins, every time he asks him, what's the key for GG Jackson being on the floor and getting those consistent minutes? Defense, 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 defense. And the offense will come to itself. But some players need the basketball in their hands. Some players are wired that way, right? It's just that's how they play. And Gigi is one of those guys, and right now it just doesn't look like he's being put in the best position to kind of capitalize on his skill set. So that's pretty much what's going on with GG Jackson right now. But remember, NCAA tournament is about to start today.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Don't forget that. Introducing the Locked On Grizzlies Daily Newsletter. Shout out to the people who've already subscribed and tuned in with me and Joe Mullinax. But make sure you continue to make the Locked On Grizzlies newsletter your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right into your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Grizzlies newsletter. Go take advantage of that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies with me on today. Remember, Locked On Grizzlies is everywhere you get podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, wherever you watch, Locked On Grizzlies is there. Make sure you continue to like, rate, review, comment, and subscribe. Right now, we're approaching 5K subscribers on YouTube. So make sure you continue to help us get there as well. But appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Grizzlies. We'll be back on the show on tomorrow. Me and my co-host Joe Mullinax. We got a lot to continue to talk about with what's going on with the Grizzlies. But until then, remember again, Locked On Grizzlies is free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm Damichael Cole, and we'll see you on Locked On Grizzlies.